See if you see it then. To be published. Get all shared here. Okay, so our schedule. On May 15th, which is a Wednesday, is when your written final is at 11 o'clock, according to the final schedule. Let's bring that up, and you guys double check it. OTC final schedule. Because I have like this weird dyslexia looking at their final schedule. I always read it wrong. So double check and make sure that I actually have our final down correctly. Because we start at 12:30. We're a Monday, Wednesday class. So that puts us at 11 o'clock on Wednesday, May 15th, right? It has got to be, I just have a really hard time reading that. I'm sure it's perfectly clear.
And that means by extension that we won't have class the preceding Monday.
Exactly, that's true. Just on Wednesday. Then your actual hands-on final project will be due midnight, Thursday night, May 16th. Now I want to make sure that you get a good start on that, not waiting until after this. That would be too late. Too late. So we want to make sure everybody gets started. So next Monday, we will have a check-off where I'll be going around and making sure everybody has their class created, and we'll look at the final requirements here in a minute, so this will mean more to you, and their form created. So that is the assignment that should be showing up if you refreshed. It's just a desk check. So you won't be able to turn anything in for that. It'll only happen here on Monday, and that'll be your class and your form. So what class and form am I talking about? Let's look. Let's look at the final project. Your final project will be too different from our CD thing. Can you guys see it? Is it letting you download it? It's not blocking you from it. Doing some weird security thing when I copy stuff from one course to another is when we've had trouble to make sure. So the final is going to be a catch of the day. So it's a fishing app. And what we want to keep track of is lumpers. Who caught some big fish this day? So we're going to have in our catch class the fisher person's name, type of fish they caught, the weight, and where they caught it. So over here in this blue box is kind of a quick overview of that catch class. So that's the class that I'll be looking for next Monday, that your catch class exists, and it's just that simple of a class. It doesn't have any other methods, just override the two string. Now the form doesn't have to look just like this. You can make it different as long as it's conveying this data. Yes, sir?
You said it doesn't have to look just like it.
Right.
Does it have to be word for word? For like type of fish or caught at? Like,
as long as it was something that would seem acceptable terminology for the sport, because yeah, you know, so we wouldn't want it to say something about birds because we're talking about
I think
fish.
she's trying to say stick within the flavor and apply some common sense.
Yes, yes, that sounds like a good way to put it. Common sense fishing terms.
Stick within the flavor.
Stick in the flavor. Now, looking at this form, some things that it does have to have, or it needs to have to get all the points anyways, is a menu and a toolbar. So that's what we're going to look at today, how to create a little toolbar real quick. Now our menu needs to have an open, or our file menu needs to have an open, save, and save as. And you probably want to add an exit. It doesn't specify that you have to have it, but if you want to add exit, do. The edit menu needs to have add new, update, and delete, referring to a specific catch. And then our help menu needs to have the about dialog box. Notice that there's a lot of ors in here because you have the flexibility to do it how you want. So whatever you think is going to work good for you is fine. Now I want to open up that other document that's attached to the assignment, the rubric. And then we can see what we've got here. So as you go through, notice each thing or little aspect is going to be assigned some points. So having a list box is 10 points. Now, if you don't have a list box, it's going to be hard to do some of the other things, but theoretically, it's not enough to fail you. Your catch class is 15 points. Opening a file, a text file, and reading it in is 15 points. Adding a catch object when somebody types in on your form and adding it to the list is 10 points. Having the menu bar and toolbar is 10 points. Clicking on a catch in the list and having it display in that form is 10 points. Saving a file is 10. Looking for errors in the input data is 10. Deleting items from the list is 5, and your about form is 5. So you won't lose a lot of points for any given thing. Yes, sir?
What does it mean by an about form?
Like that one we did last week. Remember where we did the little menu? It might have been that day that you were, weren't you gone? Did you have to miss?
I did.
There is on our announcements, the menu one is the one you want to download and take a look at.
Okay.
And so we just created a little second form that had the about our application information on it. You know, like copyright and that kind of stuff.
It's not a form, so per se, so much as just a little section that's like, here's what this is.
Your
and how we use
info,
it. Okay.
like your version number and your developers and that kind of stuff. Yes, sir?
When naming the class catch cause a naming conflict, I keep thinking about exceptions every time.
As long as you don't name something else catch also.
I think he's saying that it might use the same name as the catch command.
Try catch one.
Try catch. Well,
You could call it fish, I guess.
yeah, try it. See what you run into. Good thought.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do, is I would just call it fish instead.
You could call it fish. Catch over the day. Wonker. I like wonker. Make it be your longer class, whatever you want. So what I'm trying to get across to you on this rubric is that you're going to be able to gather some points out of this. Plus, none of you guys are in bad shape anyways. I look out and I'm like, some classes I've looked out and I see people that I think they're going to have a hard time creating this form. None of you are in that shape, which is awesome. So I think that we're in much better shape than in some semesters. But say you don't know how to accomplish the delete. We didn't do an example of that in our CD audio specifically for this because it's a small point item, gives you an opportunity to do the exploring on your own, but it's not a killer amount of points. So if you decide to not do it, it won't cost you that much.
Because I noticed your example and rubric mentioned it. You care about coloring or anything styling.
Styling, I do, but it's not necessarily something that is listed.
Not like just have all your
Right.
But like colors and fonts and stuff like that. Because I just noticed your example and you say in the rubric necessarily that it was like.
Yeah, it's not a specific point item.
Okay.
So you're okay.
Just make it look clean though.
Yeah, it should look clean.
Like,
To me, whenever you look at that kind of stuff, to me that should be like beyond points, and that should be a personal responsibility. I am proud of my application thing. So yes, I would like you to be proud of your application. So I want you to be proud to have it in your portfolio, to show people, yes, I created this application. I did it all. And that's what we want, is for you to have something like that to show off, because you deserve it. All right, so the only way to get no points is to not turn anything in. So don't do that, because you're going to get some points there. Okay, so if you look at Canvas, the other thing that we want to check on, sorry, I've got too many windows open. There it is. in the modules, again, if you go back to your module section, the final exam itself, the hands-on, or the, sorry, multiple choice part, don't forget you have all of those unit exam practice tests to use to prepare. Let me know if one of them like won't let you get to it or something. If I add all of them to this module, it starts getting really ugly and messy and you can't find anything. So it's easier if you go back to those unit exams and use those practice tests there. We'll make sure that there's a practice test available for all of those different chapters that we've done. So let's look at this sample project. The sample project page has 2 links. The first one is to a YouTube playlist that builds this application. The YouTube playlist has a lot of videos, like 7 or 8 videos, but each of them are short to build the application. So hopefully you can use those videos and just go to one that you need. If you're having a hard time with figuring out how to read the file in, for example, you can just go to the video that does that just reads in the file. So there should be a lot of different options for you. Now the application though, this Load Today app, go ahead and grab it, download it, and extract that zip file. And let's take a look at that application. Now this example should look a lot like the audio CD example. As you're looking at these, don't let your brain go to that point of saying, oh my God, I'm so confused. These are all so much the same. How am I supposed to tell them apart? Make your brain go to that point of, oh my gosh, these are like exactly the same. There's only a few things that are different. I know how to do this because everything's like exactly the same. There's not a lot of differences between this and the audio CD. There's different comments, different things like that. This application, though, takes care of a load. I'm going to run it so you can always tell what was going on here. So whenever I was teaching this section of this class, of course, we were working on the driveway and worried about gravel. So, of course, that's what I think about. Let's have a load of gravel. Let's create an entry here. Let's say we have Bill, and we have a nice drop-down list here. He wants some sand, and he wants 100 pounds at the shop. Now, when I click OK, it's going to crash. I'm just going to let you know. I'm going to do that anyways. So I'm going to click OK. It's going to crash on the ounces because I didn't type anything in. I know you'll do better than that, but I'll go ahead and stop it and run it again, just so you know that that'll happen. And try again. I'm going to do Bill wants sand. He wants 100 pounds and 0 ounces at the shop. Now, the detail item was added, and it was added here to our list box, but it was added kind of in a comma separated format, a little different than what we did our application, but I wanted you to see that. Now, if we click on that record, right now it's showing it, but if you notice, all of the data fields are protected. I can't just click over there to change it like with our audio CD app. Instead, I have to click this update icon in the toolbar And then that enables all of those boxes for me. So it does work just a little bit different. I can say now, oh, this is Bruce. And okay. And then it updates it. Now again, if I want to show that item, I have to click on it again. And then if I wanted to delete it, I should be able to delete it. It says delete. Again, gosh, keep making you guys figure that delete out all on your own, aren't I? So mean, so mean. That's all right. Now, if I want to add a new one, I click this Add New button. So we had that Reset button in ours. This one has a little plus sign type toolbar button, like we would see in a more of an up-to-date app. Okay, so let's create a toolbar. Before we do so, take a look at this app. This app has a load that is the class. So if you look at the load.cs file, you'll see the data types that we were concerned about when we were concerned with a load of gravel. We have our properties associated with them. Did you unzip it? Extracted everything? Still won't let you?
Yeah, ours
Our
doesn't.
load CS is different than that.
Yeah.
It's got regions, expand the regions.
Expand the region.
Regions.
Okay, finding everything? It's showing up? All right, like they said, these region things are all collapsed. I do that just by accident. So when we look at our properties here, we've got our public properties and our constructor. We have one constructor that expects all of the data to be passed in, another constructor that has no arguments, and then this class only has a two-string method. So it should be just exactly the same as the class that you'll be creating, except yours will have different data, right? Different fields. Now our main doesn't have anything in it, so it's our form that's concerning. If I look at the code associated with the form, and I'm going to scroll all the way up to the top so that we're kind of all at the same place, as you scroll down through this, you'll see each of the different event procedures is very short. It's just that we have a lot of them. So this application is a really good example of one of those applications that has a whole bunch of different little puzzle pieces that have to all be fit together properly to make it all work. But it should be a really good example for you on how to do that. Now, this method opens the file, and then we have another method that reads the file in to create entries in the list box. So I would hope that you'll be working on that here Wednesday, so that if you run into any questions or problems, you'll have some support around. Okay, so this load application is just an example for you. It's very similar, again, to the final. The example that we did in class is very similar also. So I'm going to close this one, and I want to create a new Visual Studio application. Now, notice too a couple of other things. They work different, right? The one application that I just gave you protects all the data fields. Nowhere on the rubric does it say anything about you doing that. You know, these differences in the way the application works, those are all completely fine. As long as your application does the function, like adds in that lunker, that's what it needs to do. So either of those methods is fine. Another way of doing it is fine also. Some of the best ways of doing things have been new ways that other people didn't like. Okay, so let's create this app. This is going to be chapter 13, menu toolbar 102. So we already did the app that had our menu bar in it. We want to expand on that and add in a toolbar. So we won't get too fancy with our form or anything. But if we look at our toolbox, my toolbox wants to bring up all components for me. Where would I go to find that thing that created a menu? That's so easy. And what was that thing called? Very good, menu strip. Now when we get our menu strip out, we typed the ampersand and the word file to make our file menu. And then anytime we're not sure what the underline character should be on a menu, we can press the Alt key to check. So I want to see on a normal file menu what the open has underlined, and it looks like it's the O. So I want that to be my first option, open. So I'll put the ampersand before the O. And then most applications have save and save as. So usually for Windows, the standard is to use S for save, and then the A for save as. And then finally, we can put exit. Yes, sir?
Can I ask why the ampersand?
Because if you activate a Windows menu, most Windows menus have a hotkey character like this. So press your Alt key. When you press your Alt key, notice how your menus activate on Visual Studio. And see how you got the F for file so that you can use the menus without your mouse.
So the ampersand just tells it to please do that. Is what
With
you're
the
saying.
next letter, yeah. The letter following the ampersand. Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So remember with our menu, we've got our menu strip down here in our component area. So if we want to modify properties that have to do with that entire menu strip, we can click on it down here to see the properties. But if we want to modify the properties just for an individual menu item, we have to have it be the one that we're clicking on. Now let's create our file open menu. So I'm going to go to my open Word and double click on it. Should create that event procedure for me. Now in my open file dialog, I want this open thing to show up. This one. So anytime we use open in a Windows system, we're used to the same open dialog showing up. For us to have access to that, we need to add it to our application. So let's go back to our form. And this is going to be under dialogues. Expand the dialogues section, and we want the open file dialog. Now when you drop that on your form, notice it doesn't stay anywhere on your form, but it goes into that component area. Now looking at the component for open file dialog, go find your properties. What we're concerned about here is the file name. We can make our file name be whatever we want. We can also use a filter if we wanted to put in like a display kind of command where we only want files that have .txt to show up, those kinds of things. So not a lot of stuff we can change in the properties of our open file dialog box, but a few things. So now we've got that as part of our application. Let's go back to our code. I can specify that open file dialog. And when I do, all of the properties and methods that are available to it show in the drop-down list. This is a Windows system dialog, and we're used to using it. It's part of what gives Windows that common look and feel that makes people accept it so much. So we want to use these dialog boxes whenever we can. Now, with all of the properties and methods available, we can really customize things however we want. For us right now, we're just going to use the show dialog method to display the file open dialog. So let's run it. And choose file open. And you should see your file open dialog. Now we're not doing anything with it at this point. We're just letting Windows display it. But it's awesome because this way we don't have to do anything to worry about people drilling down through their file system. It's exactly what they're all used to. They can go find the file that they want and everything is all good. So how could we actually get that file name out of it? And what if they click cancel? There are things that we want to do if they click cancel we don't want to do. So let's put this in an if statement. So if on the open file dialog dot show dialog, we want to see what our dialog result is. And if our dialog result is okay, then they clicked okay. IntelliSense gives us lots of other options. They might have clicked cancel or abort or lots of other things. So we have to be aware of that. But we want to do things if they clicked okay. So if they clicked okay, let's show a message box. And we'll say the file name that they chose was open file dialog 1 file name. Bless you. Now, as you'll see in the load application, when they choose a file, in reality, we want to go ahead and open it and read it and process it. We don't normally just want to display its file name with a message box. But for this application, we're just doing pieces of the puzzle. So that's what we want it to do. So click File, Open, navigate through and find a file and select it by clicking Open. And you should see that file name in your message. Working? So we could do the same thing for our save, but we have to use the Save As dialog box. So go back to your form, and in the dialogs, find the Save File dialog. When you drop it on your form, it's just going to go to the component area. Again, if you looked at the Save File dialog and looked at the properties, you could set a default file name. You could set a default extension, all sorts of different things. Let's put some code in for that. First, we want to do Save As, because if something hasn't been saved, we always default to Save As. Should be very much the same if save Save file dialog1 dot show dialog is the action we want to happen. If the result of that is okay,
Um,
okay, I'm going to output the file save as name and save file dialog1 dot file name. See if it works. It should be pretty quick. When you run, choose file save as, oops, not save, save as. Now we didn't do anything in our code, but notice Windows knows it's a save as because there was no file name. So it displays the right title for us. We could go around, find a file, and click save. It says, do you want to replace it? Say sure. It's not going to do anything to it because we don't do anything to it in our code. But then we can see that full file name. Okay? Now, whenever we use a save, that implies that we already have a file name, right? Because the way Windows works is, if we create a brand new file, when we choose save, it uses save as for us to give it a file name. Once a file has been saved with a name, then from then on we can choose save. So we need to keep a global file name. So let's go up to the top of our class and declare a string variable for our file name. Now, in our open, we need to save that file name, whatever they chose. And in our save as, we need to save it. And then in our save, we're going to use it. So I want to go back to my form and double click my save menu item. And this one's going to look exactly the same. If my show dialog results in an OK, I want to do a message box. Save name. Now, the only difference is, for this one, since we want to do a save, before we call the save dialog, we want to set its file name. Save file dialog, file name equals our file name. So then Windows knows, oh, we're saving something that already has a file name. So again, in our real app, we would, after they click the file name, we would be processing all of our rows to save them in the file. Okay, let's run it. I'm going to choose a file name in my open. And then I'm just going to choose to save. And it comes up with my file name. Still says save as though. There's another property somewhere I've got to fix that we haven't found. But it's ready to save it. Okay, is everybody's working all right? No? What's the matter? Let me leave these here and see what we got. We want to make a toolbar so we run our menus for it.
What's it in our save and our saved as?
Right, I missed you okay. And then I was like,
Does it work?
yeah.
Will that work? Next semester, I'm going to say, anytime you're doing a phone check, do a note check too. One class is laughing at me, and I said, "Fun for phone check." Okay, you guys are always, working. What?
Where are you getting the different title ones from?
There's only one.
Okay. Just anywhere?
I hit the save button. Brings it up like the other one.
Yeah, it looks just the same. See if you guys can find anything. And then first I didn't realize it. Do it the same.
You might have to have two different save dialogues. Save files I know.
No, find it for me. I didn't ask you to ask me questions.
Okay, so
Ask you to go figure it out. And tell us.
Do we even want a save dialog for the save function anyways? Don't we want it to just say, when we hit save, just say that this whatever file name
No,
already
what if they
comes there?
run the same and it's a different name?
Isn't that what the save as function is for?
yeah,
As opposed to just the regular save function? The regular save function.
That's true. Yeah, we could look
Save
at
as
it
makes a
later.
copy, but save, you can save it with any name still.
What?
Save as is a copy. Save as makes an entirely new file.
Yeah. But yeah, and I can see it that way. I can see it all those ways. Because yeah, I thought it was just gonna see our file
Well, if
name and
you're in a
automatically
program,
change
say
it.
that.
The
it
save
brings up,
should
like, you just hit
handle
save. You haven't saved it at all.
Yeah, you could just not show a dialogue at all. That's true. That would solve that problem too. I like that. Yeah, you need another one there for your phone. There you go. So those components only show up down in that component tray that you have to have when you're don't work. I know you're like, it's not doing that for me. Nothing's working for me. Yeah, that's right. You know, it's doing this for everybody, so you're okay. Because that's what we were discussing, whether it was a dialogue box thing, or one thought is that the save shouldn't show the dialogue box. It should just save the current
Yeah.
file name. I like that idea. That works really good. That seems like a very good plan. Okay, let's go finish this thing. I'm going to double click exit and just do application.close just because we want it to be complete. Or exit or whatever it is. All my IntelliSense gotta have it. Okay, so this is like not too fancy, not too much menu, but how can we make this be toolbars also? So let's go to our form. Now, just like we use the menu bar, menu strip tool, we have a tool that allows us to add toolbars, and that's the tool strip. So I'm going to find my tool strip tool, and I'm going to set it right under my menu. Now, if you look at this tool strip or toolbar up here in Visual Studio, notice that it's not just all icons. In some applications it is, you know, they're not super fancy. And then like in Office, they started the ribbons. And so there are some differences, some variations in how the toolbars work in Windows. But that's all right, because that means we can kind of make them do whatever we want. So we have a drop down up here. This debug is kind of like another combo box. We have a few different kinds of controls. Same is true of the toolbar items that we can add. So if you look at the toolbar, our tool strip item is just like the menu strip. The tool strip itself is in the component tray. If we want to look at properties that have to do with all of the toolbar, we look at the tool strip properties. For the individual items that are on our tool strip, our toolbar items, we use this tool. Click on the drop down. We can add buttons and labels and split buttons and drop downs and separators and combo boxes and text boxes and even the status bars. So these are the different kind of controls we can add to a toolbar. For ours, we're going to use buttons, so let's use button. Now, as soon as you add that button, it puts that kind of mountainy cloud picture there, and it jumps over ready to add another tool. Well, let's fix the image, because we know toolbars, that's what's important, is the image that's being displayed. So find your image property, and right now it's set to a system.drawing.bitmap, and click on the ellipse to change that image. We always want to use our project resource file, and we want to import into our resources. Now, where to go? Whenever we're looking at all of these images, the icons, all of the Windows images that are used by Windows, they have a file that's available for download. So if you search for Windows System Images or Visual Studio System Images, you'll find that images file on Microsoft's website. It's not as huge as it used to be. You want to download the one for Visual Studio 2017. Now, if you don't want to download that, you can get the images here, but you'll be limited just to the ones that we have. So, yes, sir?
Is there a good place to look for guidelines on making your own icons for this sort of thing?
Yeah, you should be able to find stuff real easy if you search. And there's certain sizes, so you'll see. So go into the CIS folder. And inside the CIS folder, find our CIS150 folder. And then the course data. Now, there's a couple. Notice that the images is from 2011. It's a little old. So those are the older icons. But the newer ones are in this icons folder. I'm going to go to open. Now, here's all the different sizes that are available. We tried 24 by 24 and it seemed fine. If you change your view, you know, and look at medium icons or something, you can see what the image is going to look like. So it's sort of a file open, but again, you might want a different one. There are so many different icons out there for file open. And some people last year used some of the really new, clean icons, and that made everything look really, really good. But these icons are fine. I'm going to choose this open 24 by 24.
How many icons are in this folder?
There's quite a few, but it seems like there's only like 1 or 2 for most given functions. So I think that Windows themselves kind of cut down on how many were available.
I'm just noting that it seems like it's going to take an awfully long time.
It could, yes, it could.
Yeah, the 2015 image library is 3 gigabytes. 2017 one is 12 megabytes. So they cut down a bit.
Cut down a bit. It's that big one. That one, I mean, I'm still like, you can do it. I don't know. You might not want to do it at home. And someone this morning was like, it's not that big. And I was, oh, okay, it's the 2015 one that was awful.
Is there some other way I can get at least something I can work with for the minute? Because
Sure, just copy the 3 that we're going to use.
Download it online.
Yeah, the open.
We'll do.
Or just give him the open one. That's enough.
You can also make your own one as well. That's really hard. I'll get those little red X's.
Yeah, you want red X's?
Yeah.
You could get those.
Got my hard drive.
I want my flash drive.
Now, before we do anything else, we already have an event procedure to handle our file open, right? We don't want to create a new one just for this button. Let's make this button use the one we already created. So click on your events, and here for the click event, for this new toolbar icon, choose open, tool strip, menu, item. Now it should be using the same exact code as our menu. So if we run it, we can do our menu file open, and we should be able to do our tool strip or toolbar file open. So just like I was saying earlier, more pieces, but not more complication, just more things for you to worry about. But we're going to use that same exact code. Okay, we already have code in for our others too, so let's create a toolbar item for save. So I want it to be a button. I want to go back to properties and find my image. And I want to import into my project resource file my save icon. This one, again, it's so important for you to pull this into your resources file so that I can see it when I'm testing. This is one of those reasons why I won't count off for bad pictures and things, because if you forget to, I don't want it to be a killer on your part. All right, so that was my save. So I want to go to my events and make my click event, use my save.
What size are we getting again?
24 by 24 is what I did. But I don't know that it matters.
I did it 32 by 32 and it didn't change.
It seems like it just will automatically size it.
It's good to have multiple sizes just in case.
Yeah. Now for our save as, I'd like it if there was one that had like, you know, multiple disks or something. But I don't know. Let's check. I'm going to go back to my properties, create one last one for save as, and I'm going to check my images. Import. Nope, there's no save as. I'm going to look at, I'm going to do synchronize. Non-standard, non-standard. But I'll give it an icon. And then I'm going to use the events to set up my save as. You guys are just so good. You figured out all the problems. I just need to get rid of the save as. All right, let's run it. See if they work.
Oh, it's in Visual Studio 27 folder.
What?
Let's save that as icon.
Oh, is there one? Is it not?
It's more modernized.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is.
I started to scroll and I was like, I can't do that. Just type save in the top corner.
I think I like this black one. Yeah, that's better. It doesn't match. Oh my God, now it doesn't match. Now I have to go fix those. Okay, try them. But no matter what, I mean, your icons should all work. What's bothering me though is, look at these awful tooltips. Let's fix those. I'm going to start with my first one. Now, what I want to find is a couple of things. We don't need to change the text on our tool strip buttons, but it's nice if we do. So I'm going to make this one say File Open. As soon as I do that, if I click in Tooltip text, it will also say File Open. I'm going to do that for each of them. File Save. And of course, I can make my tooltip text say different things. But I'm okay with it saying that. Now, a tooltip is that little word, those little words that pop up when you mouse over your icons. So notice how much better our application looks just from taking about half a second to type those tooltips in instead of it saying that weird. I don't know if you've used any applications that don't do that, but every once in a while you'll run across one that just gives you some weird blurb instead of a real tooltip. Okay, questions? Is it working for everybody? Now remember, the menu and the toolbar are 10 points altogether. So if it's just like, I just not even gonna mess with those things at all, that knocks you down a little bit, but it's not like it knocks you out. So, you know, try it, whatever is just like too much, that's okay. Questions? Next Monday, we'll do our check on everything, all clear. Other than that, lab time then. Yes, sir?
Can we go back to the form real fast?
Sure.
Yes, I'm gonna go back to moving things from point A to point B. 'Cause that's how you move.
Is that what you needed, Austin?
The part where you put the functionality, I think I specified,
In where?
a list. The exit button.
Oh, right there.
Application not exit us.
You good?
That fixed it. Thanks.
I don't have any power to take part in that conversation right now.
I don't feel like